Friday, October 18th at 8:30 p.m. at night. That is more like it. The Mets win Game 5 of the NLCS 12-6. They do not lose all three on their home turf, thank God. And there is so much to love about this win after back-to-back really just deflating blowout losses where the season fully felt like it was over. You could hear the sadness of my voice on today's Chase Station podcast that I had to record solo. I was just bummed this morning. I went on for 20 minutes about how, these guys battle back and I want to believe, but it's hard to believe. Well, now it's a lot easier to believe. To win 3 games in a row and survive, you have to win the first one first. And I think the Mets had that mentality today. Let's just win today and worry about tomorrow when it comes. This game started out scary. I think it'll get forgotten because there's a lot of scoring that happens in this game. But an Ohtani single and a Mookie Betts double kick off the David Peterson start. Second and third, nobody out. Peterson bouncing back to get 3 outs in a row, including striking out Tommy Edman, who has been the most consistent Dodgers hitter, was big because the Mets immediately answer back. Lindor singles, Nimmo walks, Pete Alonso steps in at the 4-hole. 1-1 count. Went fishing for a slider. Went fishing again on the third pitch. It's below his knees, but he's a big, strong guy. Muscles a 3-run homer to right center field, and that really set the tone for this entire game. David Peterson, in the end, negotiates a decent outing. I think in a perfect world, you'd like for him to go 5 and shorten up the game for the pen a little bit. He ran into some trouble in the 4th inning. I thought the Mets went to the bullpen at the right time. It was bases loaded for Freddie Freeman. You don't want this game to get out of hand. We'll get to that moment in just a little bit because the Mets did a ton of scoring in the bottom of the 3rd after a pair of walks. They were seeing Jack Flaherty tonight. I was honestly surprised that he was in this game as long as he was because they were seeing him from the get-go. Tons of walks. They just weren't chasing the knuckle curve and slider below the zone like they were in game 1. They were fishing all night long for 7 innings. And they made Flaherty look really good. And when I thought, while he did look great, he was, there were spots where they could have hit him. They did it tonight. Pair of walks to start the 3rd. Starling Marte. Where is this Mets team without an effective Starling Marte in the middle of the lineup? I don't know. And I don't want to think about it because he's been great. And this was maybe his best night at the dish of this entire playoff run. He ends the night with 4 hits, 3 RBIs, 3 doubles. This second double was massive, though. A 2-run double to make it a 5-1 game. The Mets tack on thanks to Francisco Alvarez, who comes on with 2 outs, runner on 3rd. Mets runner in scoring position numbers have been dreadful. They were 0 for 17 in game 1, 3, and 4. They got the job done tonight with tons of opportunities. Alvarez singles. He goes 3 for 4 in this game. He looked a lot better. I don't want to just say that he looks right again because we'll see what happens in the next game, but that's the kind of stuff you like to see. Alvarez going with the ball, going oppo, not just swinging for home runs, not losing the bat or losing his helmet on big swings, staying within himself because he's a strong dude. In that short stature, he's a strong dude. He doesn't need to swing for the fences every time. Gives the Mets that RBI single that keeps the inning going. They end up scoring 2 more runs after that because Lindor triples and Nimmo singles home run as well. The Mets put up 8 runs on Jack Flaherty in 3 innings. I would have taken him out in the middle of the 3rd inning. I think the Dodgers were playing for some length. They know they have a bullpen game in game 6. I guess they wanted to protect some of those guys, but they let this game get out of hand. And if they hadn't, with the Dodgers scoring later, it might have been a much scarier game. So I'm really glad that Dave Roberts decided to just stay with his starter. Andy Pages becomes a story in this game. He hits a pair of home runs. Both of them were like tanks, like real big boy home runs out of the 9-hole. Big day for the 9-hole hitters. Both of them go 3 for 4. So I guess good for those guys. There was some chirping between Pages and Alvarez. I was kind of on Pages' side of like, yeah, man, if you hit a playoff home run, you're allowed to, you can peacock a little bit. That's what MLB is now. And Alvarez, I love him. He peacocks when he gets big hits. So it was a little interesting coming from him. But, he was protecting his pitcher, setting up for his team. I get it. A little chippy, but nothing was ever going to come of that. The jawing between Muncy and Peterson was interesting. Muncy got brushed up and in on a pitch, stared him down, took a little bit of offense to it. Then he grounds out. I think Peterson said something bitch when he got the out because it was like a nice play on a barehand from a bad flip by Pete. Weird little moments of beef, nothing really substantial. We go to the fourth inning. Honeywell comes in for Flaherty, and Honeywell pitches the majority of this game from here on. Gets greeted by a hit by pitch and then a Jesse Winker triple. I'm going to say this once on this reaction. I'm probably going to say it on the Shea Station pod tomorrow, and I will continue to say it from here on. Under no circumstance, I don't care if a lefty is on the mound. I don't care if he's 0 for 20 against that lefty. Under no circumstance should Jesse Winker be sitting at any point for the rest of the playoffs. Under no circumstance. At the end of today's game, he has the highest OPS in the playoffs on the team of anyone, including Mark Vientos, including Pete Alonso with his home run, including Lindor, everyone. Jesse Winker has a 1.2 OPS right now. He's hitting .316. He hit a triple in this game. He drew a walk. He got hit by a pitch. I think every at-bat went 5 pitches. Like, having him in the middle of the lineup changes the whole lineup. JD had a couple nice walks. I get it. You want to try and get him right again, but like, there's no time for that, dude. There's no time to get JD Martinez right. He's been slumping for 6 weeks. He was 0 for 36 in September. There's no time for him to get everyday playing time and get right. Play Winker. Make it easy on yourself, dude. Seriously. I mean, enough. Anyway, sorry, I got a little angry there. Speaking of playing time, McNeil starts this game. He gets a pair of sacrifice flies. He comes away with no hits, but he hit the ball hard every time. Regardless of what you do in Game 6 and Game 7, Iglesias, I think, needed a day. So he gets the day off. He gets the day off with the team tomorrow. If you want to play him in Game 6, I'm not opposed, but I'm also not opposed with McNeil. This is not like JD and Winker where it's black and white who should be playing. Both these guys provide a solid glove at second base, an at-bat where it's probably not going to end in a strikeout, and the ability to put good wood on the ball. So I have no problem with McNeil getting some playing time. I do still think that having Ottavino on this roster instead of maybe Acuna would have been wise, and I think it popped up in this game. Like, Ottavino probably could have finished this game or given you an inning somewhere in there, but whatever. Mets are up 10-2. We're feeling great. This game feels like it's going to be one of those boring games and we're just going to cruise to the end, but this is the New York Mets, people. They are incapable of just cruising to a win, even when it's 10-2 in the 5th inning. We go to the 5th. Reed Garrett stays in. Again, I don't mind it. Obviously, the result is not what you want, but I don't mind it. Reed hits a batter, walks a batter, but gets to 2 outs. Andy Pages steps in again. Works a pretty good at bat. Like, Pages, honestly, like, he played well today. Like, I know he's the 9-hole hitter and he's not a name you think of when you think of the Dodgers, but he put some really good swings on the baseball today and he cranks a 3-run homer to make it a 10-5 game. 10-5 doesn't sound crazy, but when the Dodgers have put up 9 runs in the first game, 7 runs in the third game, and 10 runs last night, you get a little bit nervous. Anyways. Ryan Stanek comes in, strikes out Ohtani. Stanek goes for 7 outs in this game, which I don't think was the original plan. I think the original plan, my hypothesis, my theory, if you will, is that, let's say Reed gives you a clean inning in the 5th. It stays 10-2. I think you put Senga out there with an 8-run lead and say, hey, whatever happened in Game 1, let's take this time to figure it out. Like, iron out the kinks, walk guys if you have to, but figure out your slot, figure out your mechanics, get right, because we're going to need you. When that 3-run homer gets hit and it's a 5-run game, I don't feel good putting Senga out there, and I'm sure Mendoza didn't either. So I'm sure Senga was part of the original plan, although they did say I think Senga wasn't part of like the plan A of this game, whatever that means. Point blank, Senga doesn't come in. I don't know if he's going to get used for the rest of the series because Game 6 and Game 7 are going to be tight affairs. Whatever. Stanek comes on for the 6th. He gives up the Mookie Betts home run on a slider that just stayed up in the zone. But then he punches out Teoscar and Freddie Freeman in pretty convincing fashion, just fastballs at him, high in the zone, can't catch up. He gets through the 6th. He gets through the 7th. Looks great doing it. Strikes out 4 batters along the way. he's just been a dude, man. Like I said this about Marte before, but like imagine where this team is without Ryan Stanek in the middle of every win. Like he has been such an important bridge reliever. He's been what Phil Maton was supposed to be, like the trusted setup guy for Diaz. Stanek was not this guy at all in the regular season, but that shit just goes out the window in the playoffs, man. It's who's hot and who's not. So Stanek comes up big in this game. I think he's like the MVP of this game, if I'm being honest. 11-6 game. We're getting deeper into it. The bullpen comes through big here. Diaz and Stanek, man. There's a world where this game gets a little out of hand. With it being 10-5 and Garrett not being able to close his outing effectively and Stanek giving up the home run. Like the Mets were like thin on options today. Like 7 outs out of Stanek is so big, but using Diaz for 2, I was pretty shocked by. But I think that was always kind of part of the plan. They're going to have an off day tomorrow. Diaz is better when he's not rusty. I don't mind using him that much here, especially when he looks as good as he did today, because I've said it before, but it feels like Diaz is a lock to always just walk his first batter. And he came out and he threw 5 straight fastballs to Pages, twirled a nasty slider below the zone to get him to swing and strike out there. Then he punches Ohtani's ticket on 4 pitches, all of them fastballs. Awesome. Cool. Great. Gets Betts to ground out. The Mets have a nice eventful 9th inning where Marte gets another knock and makes it a 12-6 game. Curveball. 9th inning comes. Diaz is smiling. He's feeling loose. He's feeling light. And I knew in that moment we were good. I know it's a 6-run game. Obviously, you feel good no matter what. But in that moment, I felt like this guy knows where the ball is going. And he was commanding really well. Not a lot of balls from Diaz tonight. In fact, let's just do a quick count. 23 pitches, 16 strikes. I feel like every game that he's pitched in since Atlanta, it's been X amount of pitches and at least half of them are balls. At least, sometimes more. This was a very big confidence-building outing for Edwin Diaz, who is going to play a pivotal role in the rest of the series if the Mets are going to come out on top. So for him to come out and look the way he did was a massive vote of confidence. And that was it. The Mets put up a dozen runs, and they're able to hold off the Dodgers offense. They go through the whole game. They get 14 hits, 6 extra base hits, 5 walks, 0 strikeouts. That's the Mets offense right there. Doesn't matter if you're down 2 strikes. Does not matter. Don't go down swinging. Don't go down looking. Put the ball in play and good things happen. That is this Mets offense when it's right. Multi-hit games for Lindor, Alonso, Winker, Marte, and Alvarez. Just a sigh of relief was this game. I think all Mets fans needed this. There was a chance the season ended tonight. Thankfully, we're going to send it back to LA. No one celebrates on our home turf, baby. Not on our watch. The only people that celebrate at Citi Field are us. And like, obviously they won, so I'm feeling great. But 3-1 comebacks have happened plenty of times before. The Dodgers did it themselves 4 years ago in the NLCS against the Braves. Winning this first game was big. One, because even though Flaherty stunk tonight, he was the one that handled the Mets in game 1 and set the tone of this series. 9-0, 7 shutout innings. For the Mets to rock him, and then not only rock him, but get a great performance out of their bullpen, specifically Stanek and Diaz. Big for the confidence going forward. So a lot of the relief pitchers get 2 days off now because there's no game tomorrow. Manaea gets game 6. You feel, that's your best starter on the mound, and he won game 2. You feel really good about that. Dodgers bullpen game in game 6. We'll see. If you get to game 7, it'll be Walker Buehler on short rest versus Severino. Let's make it interesting. Don't go down easy. Part of me always knew, even with these last 2 games, that this Mets team was too talented and had too much of a story to just go down with a whimper and get blown out 3 games in a row at home. That's not how this season was ever going to end. Say they get blown out in game 6 and that's how it ends, fine. But it's very symbolic of this Mets team to get kicked to the ground, punched in the face, look like they're going to get buried, and then just get up and throw a haymaker. And it landed tonight. They landed that haymaker. Let's see if they can land 2 more. LFGM.